The pact, which regulates the future relationship between Great Britain and the EU in detail, is in place. It was a drama until the last second and the negotiators were exhausted, but the pact that regulates future relations between the UK and the EU in every detail is in place indeed. The horrific scenario of a no deal was averted. The pact is intended to prevent tariffs and keep economic relations as smooth as possible. It is also intended to secure access to British waters for EU fishermen and clarify many everyday issues such as cooperation in the police, justice system or energy supply, but also student exchanges. And today I just want to give you some press and politics comments about the agreement. Let's start with the press. The Times in London said, "Finally, at the end of a year when there was little good news, Boris Johnson's announcement of a deal on future relations with the European Union is more of a source of relief than a reason to celebrate. The fact that a deal has been reached is a remarkable achievement in many ways. Usually, such agreements take years to negotiate. This was reached in 9 months, during a global pandemic that prevented face-to-face meetings for much of the year. What's more, trade deals are usually designed around the two sides. This is the first in history to allow them to grow further apart, which means that this is inevitably a no-win deal with political and economic costs to be borne by both sides." And The Guardian in London said, "There cannot be a trade deal without somehow tarnishing the vision of a total sovereignty cherished by Brexit ideologues. That concession will be hidden in the fine print. And Boris Johnson will use all his rhetorical arsenal and political diversion to be presenting the agreement as a charter of heroic national emancipation, helping him to keep time available for ratification tight. Parliament is being recalled, but hundreds of pages of the technical agreement cannot go on until the end of next week. The shortened schedule leaves little leeway to choose between the options of rejection and approval. The former would be catastrophic, the latter reveals democratic control. But that is no surprise. This is the way Boris Johnson does business." The Independent in London wrote, "The relief that an agreement has finally been reached should not hide this moment of national self-harm. As EU chief negotiator Michel Barnier reminded us, it is set for Great Britain and the rest of Europe to have unlimited freedom to work and study and trade that has existed for most of the past half-century to compare with what now lies ahead. This deal is better than nothing, and it will come quickly through Parliament with the expected support of the Labour Party, although the Scottish National Party will likely offer symbolic resistance, knowing that a no deal has been avoided. What this weak new treaty won't do is end the national dispute over how to ensure Britain's prosperity and security. The feeling of relief is very real and welcome, but only in the sense that you stop banging your head against the wall." And the Tagesanzeiger in Zurich wrote, "It's the good news at the end of the year. After the Brexit divorce, Great Britain and the EU are finally finding a regulated partnership. It is a victory for common sense. A deal against the chaos that started on January 1st would inevitably have threatened if Great Britain left the internal market and the customs union after their EU membership. From the start, the EU Commission and Member States were only concerned with damage limitation. And here Brussels seems to have been quite successful. The EU unilaterally imposed tariffs or adopt other countermeasures if the UK dumps state aid or social standards. Possibly more arbitrariness than Switzerland would have to fear with the dispute settlement mechanism in the framework agreement. The price of the divorce is still unknown. Winner and Brexit losers will only really be known in the next year." And the New Zurich Times wrote, "The conclusion of the EU free trade agreement, is the best news of the year for Great Britain. It was unnecessarily difficult to get there. The effects will be unnecessarily small. Nevertheless, the contract is worth every letter. Reason has triumphed on both sides. But nobody should be under any illusions. There will be no winners with Brexit. From an economic point of view, leaving the internal market and the EU customs union, the tough exit option that Prime Minister Boris Johnson promoted is harmful nonsense. This hard Brexit is one of the biggest acts of economic self-harm in modern trade history. London is giving up the dove in hand and is hoping for the sparrow on the roof, for example in the form of a trade agreement with the USA. The free trade agreement is damage limitation. The UK fishing industry is disappointed with the deal. There is no definite break, says association boss Barry Diaz to Reuters. It's a bit like cheating. And so we just left the press and are now with associations and politics, because French head of state Emmanuel Macron has welcomed the agreement on the Brexit trade pact between the EU and Great Britain. The European unity and stability have paid off, said the president on Thursday via Twitter. France often followed a hard line in the Brexit tussle. The deal with the UK is important to protect our citizens, our fishermen and our producers, Macron continued. One will now convince oneself whether this is really the case. Europe is moving forward and can look forward to a united, independent and strong future, said Macron. EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen praised the agreement on the Brexit trade agreement at a press conference last week's Thursday afternoon. The agreement is fair and balanced. It took a while, but now we have an agreement. It's been a long and rocky road, but the result is good. Von der Leyen declares that they will continue to work with Great Britain on all points. They can still achieve more together than alone. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson described the agreement with the European Union as a good deal in the post-Brexit talks. The trade agreement is good for all of Europe, said Johnson at a press conference last week's Thursday. At the same time, the British head of government assured that his country would remain a friend, ally and most important market of the EU states. Chancellor Angela Merkel, who holds the EU Council presidency until the end of the year, that means until the end of today, welcomes the agreement. I'm delighted that the negotiators of the European Union and Great Britain have reached an agreement that will clearly regulate future relations between the European Union and the UK. This is of historic importance. Foreign Minister Heiko Maas points out that the agreement has not yet been finalized. We will of course take a closer look at the draft in the EU member states. All 27 EU member states and later the European Parliament must agree. The EU member states, meanwhile, before I publish this video, have agreed on it, and yesterday Ursula von der Leyen and Charles Michel have signed the agreement and sent it to London. As President of the Council, Germany wants to do everything possible so that the agreement can come into force provisionally on January 1st, and the EU side did everything they had to do to get that done. The only thing that's left, of course, is that the EU Parliament will have to do that next year. Despite the last-minute negotiated trade agreement between the EU and the UK, there should be a far-reaching consequences for people, companies and public administrations after London leaves the internal market at the turn of the year. This view was expressed by the Brexit Commissioner of the EU Parliament, David McAllister, in an interview with the German newspaper Die Welt. In addition, from the point of view of the Christian Democratic politician, the agreement lacks an agreement on cooperation in foreign policy issues. I would have welcomed the conclusion or the inclusion for foreign and security policy issues in the negotiations. That was not what London wanted. Here, however, he could well imagine a closer cooperation, said McAllister. MEP McAllister was optimistic about the expected approval of the European Parliament for the deal. We have a political responsibility to avoid an unregulated transition and to keep the negative consequences for citizens and businesses as low as possible. According to him, the agreement can initially apply without Parliament's approval. However, this should not set a precedence for future trade agreements. And if you want to stay informed, please subscribe to my channel and my other channels. I'll see you in my next video. Bis gleich.